Good morning, everybody. Democrat nominee for Wisconsin's 28th Assembly District, Patty Schachtner, is our very special guest today, Thursday, August 25th, 2022. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden. And if this is the first time watching one of our shows, welcome. We do these shows with candidates running for political office in a relaxed, casual style format. It's a chance to get to know the person, not just the candidate. You can watch a recording of all of our previous live shows on our website at DrydenWire.com, our Facebook page at DrydenWire, or just on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/DrydenWire. Looking ahead, tomorrow, Friday, August 26th, we will be welcoming on for the first time on our show U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. And next Thursday, so 1 week from today, September 1st, also a first-time guest on the show, we'll be chatting with Democrat candidate for Wisconsin's 30th Assembly District, Sarah Yakub. I love saying her name. But today we're chatting with frequent guest and friend of the show, Democrat nominee for Wisconsin's 28th Assembly District, Patty Schachtner. Patty, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. It's great to be back. Great to see you again.
I know. Yes, you gotta start running for things more often so we can have you on more often.
I know. Just stir the pot. That's all I like to do. Stir the pot.
I love it. So, as always, we don't have a script or an agenda. There's only one thing I know for sure we should probably talk about because it's very topical. It just kind of came up yesterday, was the school loan forgiveness. And then, of course, your campaign and anything else going on there. But before we get to that, why don't we, for people who don't know you, which I think at this point most people do, but kind of give people a quick bio about you before politics. Like, what do you do? What have you done, etc.?
So I've worked in emergency. Well, number one, I'm a wife and mother. Me and Joe will be married 43 years.
Congratulations.
I have 6 kids, or we have 6 kids. Kind of hard to believe that 3 of them are now in the 40s. So that's how old I am, which is weird. We have 12 grandchildren. We're expecting our 13th grandchild in a couple of months.
Wow.
So again, very exciting for us and our family. And pretty much my whole career has been in emergency services, from EMT, EMTI, first responder. Then I transitioned into death investigation. And then in 2011, I became the chief medical examiner here in St. Croix County. I've been doing that ever since. It's hard work. It's different than working as when you work in emergency services, it is kind of an adrenaline thing. The pager goes off and lights and sirens and thinking and problem solving and, what am I coming into? What am I going to do? And then now that I've been doing the death work for so long, it's like, okay, whoa, slow down. I cannot change the outcome of this situation, but I can change, or at least work with families to help them as we determine cause and manner, and then help them take that next step into their journey with grief and how to live a joyful life without a person they love. So it is very rewarding work, and I really do love it. It's something I really have a passion for, but I have had, the honor now for doing this work since 2003 to, be a part of thousands and thousands and thousands of families' lives as they say goodbye to people that they love in multiple different ways, from natural to unnatural deaths.
What's the worst part about that job? There's always things that we don't like about our jobs. What's the worst part?
Yeah. I think, for me, it's when it's people is really hard, because we live in a virtually very small community, even though it's, St. Croix County is 95,000 people. Everybody knows somebody. It's, whether it's work, school, whatever. So that can be very difficult and hard. But I think really, for me, homicidal violence is just, it's hard for me to grasp how it can get from and escalate to homicide. That has always been hard for me to understand. Not that I'm a control freak or not emotional or haven't lost my temper. I just don't see how it can get to that point. And it's really, it's, domestic violence. Most of our homicides are domestic violence, and it is, that's a hard thing. So I think that's what really,
The unnecessary deaths. Well, I suppose, I
yes,
mean, a lot
yes.
of them are, well, what about traffic crashes? Where does that one rank? People die,
Traf-
same thing.
Crashes, tragedy. I mean,
Right.
it is a horrible tragic. And I think in that case, it's also a time when people are really at their most vulnerable.
Mm.
And, I do my work, but I think what really ticks me off is when you have traffic crashes, is people that drive by and take pictures. It just um, kind of, fractures your uh, opinion of how people are when it comes to other people's tragedy. You're trying your hardest to shield the decedent and to
Mm.
make sure that their dignity and respect is taken care of. But people will drive by with their cameras, their cell phones, recording it and then getting it on social media. And a lot of times before families even know what's going on. And a lot of times that's what we are doing, is fighting social
Mm.
media to, when these tragedies happen. So, it's very frustrating for us, for law enforcement, for the EMS, for fire, when something is happening and there might be a lengthy extrication or whatever, and then there's still people taking pictures and putting it out on social media. And it just is, it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to the decedent and anyone else who's involved.
And everybody wants to know, right? Like right now, everybody wants to know what it
Oh
is
yeah,
and what's going on.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
so you were on with Fitzy and I, Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald. I think that was the last time that you were on as a guest. You were on that show. It was a couple months ago, and I know we talked
yep,
about that a lot, and you and I could talk about this all day.
yeah.
It's not because it's. I think sometimes it can be heavy and a little morose, even in a weird way. I'm fascinated by what you do, but I want to get to the political part. So
Yep.
most people know that you and Adam Jarkow did a show with us. The three of us did a show together called Politically Speaking. I think we did 10 episodes. That was before Adam decided to go into the race for Attorney General. So we decided, well, we should probably stop that. And I do remember on those shows, though, I think it was maybe it was the very first one that I asked you both. So we're only doing this because neither of you are in office anymore. But are there any plans? And both said, never. I will never, ever, ever, ever run for anything again. Well, then Adam does. And then you do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just got to copy
Yeah.
Adam, I guess. I don't know.
I
But
guess. Yes. Well,
what,
he's my hero.
you, all right. I feel like there's a little sarcasm there, but that's okay. But you decided, yeah, I'm going to run. Why? What was the reason for you deciding, you know what, I think I'm going to actually get back into this, because you were at Senate for, I think, 3 years. Then you lose this
Hmm.
election to Rob, right? Rob Staffschul.
Yep.
And then you're
Yep.
out. And now I'm getting back in. Why?
Um, I really had no plans or intentions of going back into politics until the leaked Dobbs decision came out. And it truly, truly kind of just set a stage. I mean, historically, 50% of our population lost a right, a fundamental right. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it is kind of, irrelevant. We had a right taken away from us. And then, I have granddaughters and I have daughters. And, suddenly it's like, no, they're not less. They don't have less rights than their male counterparts. And it really became a fight for democracy and a fight for our freedoms. And I think myself and a lot of other women decided to jump into the political scene again for that. We're literally fighting for our daughters and granddaughters and for our rights, because whether I call myself a mom by choice who is pro-choice. I do not enforce my personal beliefs on any other woman, and nor do I think I have the right to force my beliefs, onto anybody. And for far too long, We heard from Republicans that they're going to take your Second Amendment right away, and abortion, and it was like something that was just right. It was really good red meat, and then all of a sudden to watch a right getting taken away, it's like, what's next? Our right to privacy was first. What's next? What are they going to take away next? And if you are a believer in the Constitution, and there are some people that will say, well, it was wrong, it should go to the states. Well, okay, let's say it goes back to the states. Mm-hmm. And the law is from 1849 in the state of Wisconsin, mm-hmm. and that was when it was still legal to beat and rape your wife. That's the law we're under now. So to say, that this is okay is not okay, and our legislature gavelled in and gavelled out in 14 seconds. So that's how important my freedoms and my daughter's freedoms and my granddaughter's freedoms were. So I just said enough, and I'm going to fight for women's rights. And with women's rights and women's health comes men's health. And since this here decision, vasectomies have increased by 400% in this country.
What?
And yes, and mostly in 20-year-olds. So young men are deciding to get vasectomies because they don't want to pay child support. They don't want to have they don't want to have an unwanted pregnancy. The responsibility lies with them, and it's going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars to have that reversed when they decide they want to have children, and maybe they can't afford it. So this decision doesn't only involve women's reproduction health, it also involves men's reproduction health.
But you said responsibility lies with men. For what? The vasectomy or something else?
No. Well, before, when it came to reproductive health, most of the time, because there was the freedom to go to your doctor and have conversations about IUDs and birth control, you didn't have to really worry about it a lot, and because you had control of your body. Now you don't have control of your body, so the whole sole responsibility of reproduction lies with men.
What?
Either if you don't wear a condom, if you don't take care of your business.
Wow. All right. So if that's how that's just weird. I've never heard it presented that way, that a pregnancy, the sole responsibility is on the male. Doesn't a woman at any point have a responsibility as well? Or again, I don't know the answer to this.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. A unexpected pregnancy. When it's a night of passion and you forget to put your condom on and the woman doesn't have access to birth control, it lies with the man.
Okay, I'll have to digest that one just a little bit. If it's so, I don't understand. I'm not a woman, obviously. My brother called me that when I was a kid, but I don't think he meant that as a compliment. I think he was just picking on it every time he hit me, and I would cry. So yeah, I don't really understand that. I can't understand it because I'm not a woman. Therefore, I don't know. I would just assume that if these things are happening, I would also. It's partly my responsibility to do whatever it is, like the birth control, IUDs, maybe even say, hey, we're not having sex until you put a condom on. I think it has to be shared. Now, to what percentage, I don't know. But I think it has. I don't know. I'll have to think about that.
I would agree, but I think it's never been brought up before.
Right.
It's never been really thought about because,
I never thought about
it. It's something that you didn't think about. And when you think about teenagers, what's the one thing teenagers can do that feels good, is free, is have sex. And if you don't know the responsibilities of, having sex ahead of time by not having comprehensive, really relevant sex education, we're going to, find the teenage pregnancy rate going up. We know that because we're not talking about it. And we have to be smart when we're talking about reproductive rights of men, women, and, young adults, and what is going to happen. And, yes, People have children that are unexpected all the time. I was pregnant when I was 18 years old. I wasn't married, and we got married, and I had a lovely white dress and I had a little pregnant belly, but it was the 70s. Get that, and it worked out great for us.
Mm.
But doesn't mean it wasn't easy. It was, it's a lot of work to be responsible.
Yeah, my
And
oldest daughter, Grace, she was pregnant in high school, 17. Very difficult. 17-year-old
yeah,
girl, and yeah, but that was the decision that she made, and yeah, it wasn't. I think for her it was kind of an easy choice. I don't think it ever crossed her mind about not having it,
right.
but certainly it was difficult. But again, that's her choice. That was her decision. That was she and her now husband's decision to move forward there. We just want to be there to help and support, them in any way we
And not
possibly could. But
right, and not everybody has that support. Not everybody has that network of family around them to support them as they, go
yeah,
through this. Especially being a young woman having a child and a young man having a child that maybe they had other, things that were going on in their life. Maybe now they can't go to college, they can't do things. It's a choice you make, but it shouldn't be forced on anybody.
so if you had your druthers, because obviously there's that law 1849. First, I have a question about that. So I know it's
Yep.
18. I hear your husband. If that was in 1849, so it was an old law.
Hmm.
And I think just because something is old doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. Constitution 230 years old, and we still follow that. But when the federal law came in, Roe, Wade, etc., 62-ish, somewhere in there, 60s, wasn't it?
1973.
Okay, I was like a decade off.
Hmm.
So the 70s, does that mean when that happened, if Wisconsin passed anything differently in the legislature over that period, so from the 70s up till now, that's 50 years, would that have changed anything? Or is it, well, it doesn't matter because unless Supreme Court does anything about the Roe v. Wade, the Dobbs thing, it doesn't matter what we do. Is that true? Like, I don't understand that part.
Well, the state, I mean, this goes back to democracy and freedoms. The state had plenty of opportunity from 1973 to now to codify, do whatever they wanted to do with that
What does
specific law.
codify mean?
Huh?
What does codify
Bring
mean?
it, bring it to the federal,
Okay,
to make it a federal law, not just a right.
got it.
And that. And for us, in Wisconsin, I'm sure there are lots of laws on the books that could be brought up to date, but this is also about policy and not looking at the policies that are on the books now, and are they up to date? Are they
Sure.
relevant? Are they current? Do we want to have this conversation? Do we not? And this particular conversation it's messy, and people don't want to talk about it
It is.
and talk about what is it and what's going on and what are the rights, and geez, if I have a spontaneous miscarriage, which is coded in medical records as a spontaneous abortion and used as data as to the number of abortions out there, but what if I have not expelled all the fetal tissue? I have to go in and get a DNC. If I don't, that then can cause me to become septic, and I could, either lose my uterus or lose my life if I get too septic. And so what is that time when is the woman is at a life-threatening danger,
Mm.
and that to make that decision. I had an ectopic pregnancy when I finally, it exploded and it was hemorrhaging. I was literally unconscious. I had no control over anything. My husband had to make the decision to, either have for surgery, they removed the fetus. That it was not viable. There was no way it was going to live, and I almost died because of this pregnancy.
Mm.
And that is when they talk about life threatening. This is what it's about. Pregnancy is not easy, and there are lots of natural things that happen in pregnancy where the only treatment is going to
Mm.
be abortion
Isn't
for the
that
woman to live.
Okay, so again, I'm learning a lot about this because I don't really look into it a whole lot when it comes to these
Mm-hmm.
things. It's social issues for the most part. No kidding. I just kind of pretty much stay away from. When it comes to this stuff as well, whatever my wife tells me, then that's what I think and feel. I thought there right now on the books, 1849. Now that whatever, that I thought there was something in there for one exception. I think, and that was for if the mother was dying. I'm sure I'm wrong. I thought I saw read that somewhere.
But
What
it
is
is
it?
what is the definition of at risk?
What is?
How sick do you have to be, how sick do you have to get to meet those credentials?
Oh, it
To
doesn't spell it out
be
for us.
No, it doesn't say, well, okay, you have an ectopic pregnancy, you found out at 6 weeks, therefore take it out, because that is non-viable. That pregnancy will never live. So take it
Okay,
out at 6 weeks or wait until it bursts. And that. So the definition of what it is really important.
depends what your definition of is.
Yeah.
Oh, greatest line in
Oh,
political history.
yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure. So
Oh,
it's a deep and messy conversation, and we
yeah.
have to have it.
Yeah,
And
I think it's
and the
important to
thing
have
that
it, and I think there's a way to do it. You and I agree on this. That's why I've always enjoyed you, consider you a friend, and we have private conversations, and I always like that where we're not taking one side and forcing on the other person. We're actually just trying to sometimes devil's advocate, sometimes challenging each other. But
Mhm.
when we're finished with it, we part as friends. Like we
Right,
could
right.
agree on some things and disagree on other things. So I think it's
Hmm.
okay to have those conversations. I
Yep,
think they should have conversations.
yep.
But when it comes to the where do you want this to go?
Hmm.
You're elected. Let's say the Senate and Assembly, it's all Democrats. Because I
Hmm.
know there's this red wave coming, but
Hmm.
seems like maybe the tide has uh, maybe not as strong as it typically would be in a midterm election for Republicans this
Hmm.
time around. It's not out of the realm possibility that we'll have a Democrat governor again, out of the realm of possibility that Senate or Assembly, something is going to happen. And if it does, you're elected, you're there. What do you want to see? Right now, the 1849 law, I think we can all agree. Let's just, we need to put that back on the table and have a discussion. And not just like random people, but that's important too. But we need to address this at some point. We absolutely have to put this back to
Hmm.
a vote, put this back to bills, etc. But what do you want to have happen?
I want to see government become effective again. And when I decided to run, I had to really, okay, I don't want this to be a Republican versus Democrat type thing. What I want it to be is a performance evaluation. And I went to my opponent. You're not supposed to say her name, but I'll say it. Gay.
Yeah,
I went
I've
to
never
her.
understood that. That's so dumb. Like
Yep.
I always feel like you forgot your opponent's name.
Yes.
Like my
So I her.
opponent.
I went to her website, and quite honestly, I wouldn't have even thought about it had I not been in the Senate. I never even really thought about looking at legislators, what the work that they do, because at the end of the day, you're hiring them, you're electing them, which means you're hiring them for a job to write policy. Their job is to write policy. The feel good stuff is, Eagle Scout awards and,
Sure.
the Rotary, get your picture in the paper with all these kids and, oh, yay, you're so effective.
Yeah.
So I went and looked at her Gay's website. And
Uh-huh.
on her legislative page for 21-22, you will see that she authored a little over 100 bills. I mean, that's okay,
Oh.
and so then, because I do investigation for work, I went into her legislative committee calendar and her the calendar for floor dates. So there was a total of 100, about 110, give or take, days of work. Okay, legislative work down in Madison, writing policy, having committee meetings, bringing your ideas forward, selling them to the majority. You're in the majority. You should be able to get every one of your ideas done because you are in the majority to get it to the governor's desk. And you should be writing policy that is going to make everybody's life better. And that, Wisconsinites, Polk County residents, whatever. So she had less than 10 of her bills actually made it to the governor's desk. So she has like a 10% effective rate. 90% of her bills that she authored never made it out of committee. So then if you break it down and do it into a cost analysis, she's, the gay's getting paid about $52,000 a year. So for over the 2 years, plus benefits, it breaks it down to around 120 grand for that 2 years of work. And with 109 days of work, that means she's getting paid $1,100 a day plus mileage to work and is 10% effective. And I'm like, and she says minimum wage is too high. Are you kidding me? You get paid $1,100 a day. You had 100, it is beyond me. And how can you be so hypocritical and talk about, and writing policy and how hard it is when you are in the majority party? You can do everything to get work done, but you're not. You're not getting work done. You're not getting work done to take care of the caregivers that are working, taking care of their loved ones for free. That is a unpaid savings to the state of Wisconsin. We have all these folks taking care of their elderly because we don't have nursing homes. Our nursing homes are closing and you're on this committee. You are on the committee for ethics and family law. And there was a bill brought to you, Gay, that had to do with adoption and to change the adoption rule where you had to have 20 hours of education. And we were in a pandemic, and all the Democratic Assembly person wanted to do was change in-person/virtual. That was it. Wouldn't even allow it to come up into the committee to be heard, to be passed on. 200 children who were up for adoption in Wisconsin didn't get adopted because this law was not changed. So effectiveness, and should not be a Republican Democrat thing. If you are the party in charge, you should be writing laws that get passed. And you should be working with the governor to make sure they get passed. But when you're writing laws to get vetoed, which is what the Republicans are doing right now with 140 vetoes on voting, abortion, gun rights, and all this here, instead of having effective conversations and having give and take, instead of this my way or the highway BS. See, watching my language.
See, you get one swear word a show. It's not a quota. You don't have to use it.
But I mean, people want our legislators to work together, and they don't at the same time. So what happens is we have ineffective government and ineffective governance. And now we have a $3.8 billion surplus, plus another $1.5 billion in our slush fund. And it continues to grow. Plus we have the opioid settlement to the state, which is hundreds of millions of dollars. And the Republicans, instead of coming up with effective policy, let's figure out how to get this done. It's no, we want to spend the money our way. Governor Evers, you can't spend the money. Now, there's a plan out there. So come in a few weeks, lunch bills are now going to be a thing for families, for working families here in Wisconsin and the United States. And for families who have school lunch and all this is going to be another financial burden that they haven't seen for over 2 years because COVID dollars paid for school lunch for everybody. And then if you look at outcomes, since Governor Evers was in office, when Governor Walker was there, we ranked 18th in the nation. Our public schools were ranked 18th in the nation. Now Wisconsin ranks 8th in the nation. So we've increased our outcome. So what could be? I mean, what happened there? One of the big things that we know helps outcomes is the fact that kids are fed. The kids have been fed for 2 years, never had to worry about, okay, you're free and reduced, you're not eating, your parents haven't paid the bill, whatever it is, everybody ate and all kids did better. So if we took 1 billion of that 3.8 billion, we could feed every single child that goes to public school for the next 10 years to help feed children. It would help families. They wouldn't have to worry about that bill of a lunch bill, all kids would eat. It would be an equity solution. And instead, what you hear is, well, families need to know that they have to pay their bills and all this here stuff. Well, then my question to that, my statement would be, did you pay back your PPP loan? Did you? And there are a lot of legislators who took PPP money, got it written off, and now those same people are telling families, we have this $3.8 billion surplus and we're not going to use it to help you. I want to work for working families. I know what it's like. I have 6 kids and a long history of, we have hard knocks, good times, bad times. And, people don't want a handout, they want a hand up. And the Republicans have figured out a way to write policy that punishes children if their parents are having a hard time, whether it's mental health, whether they're living in poverty, whether there's incarceration. The children who have no say to where they get born, they're just born. And we don't do anything through policy to help. And this would be one simple solution for the next 10 years. It would cost, like I said, $1 billion of a $3.8 billion surplus. You would still have $2.8 billion to give to the U-lines than, all your rich people that
Sure.
super PACs.
Yeah. So I have a few things. So I want to get to the school loan thing. And Gay's not on to defend herself, so I just feel like I should probably say something, which is just you said 10% of the bills that she was a part of introduced, or what was that also
Authored.
including author? Okay, 10%.
Yes, author.
What were the other? Did you look to see? Because I don't know what normal is. So put that in perspective. Like, what was Dave Armstrong in the 75th, or Nick? Well, a Democrat. Well, still, like, what is the average in the Assembly for a Republican and an average in the Assembly for a Democrat during the 21-22? So then there's like a frame of reference, because I don't know.
Well, I got a legislative document, and I'll send it to you.
Oh, fantastic!
That talks about the effectiveness of bipartisan legislature from 2009 to now.
Sure.
And
well, when you send it to me, then I could take it and I'll put it when we're finished with the show. Then I'll put it in the comments. So anyone's watching it later, you'll actually be able to see that there. And then also, what was you were in 3 years. Now that's Senate. That's different. And I don't remember if at the time when you were in the Senate was it controlled by Republicans still?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, what was your percentage? Again, I'm just trying to understand it in context.
I actually signed on to quite a few Republican bills. And
how many got passed?
The pipeline safety bill, which was very controversial for a Democrat.
What do you like a percentage? Like, is it, because this wasn't actually a Democrat-controlled Senate, mine was only 5%, or maybe actually it was like 15%, or do you happen to know what yours was back then?
Don't know, because I wasn't in the Assembly. I was in the Senate.
In the Senate, right.
And that I'd have to go back.
That's a little different. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, all right. I was just kind of curious. And then the $3.5 billion. So here, I'm standing up for Republicans right now, which I get accused all the time. But I'm just saying the $3.8 billion. We all kind of. Come on. That was done, whether people like it or not, mostly because of Republicans got that done. And if Evers got the budget he wanted, we would not have a surplus. That's my understanding.
No.
Is that correct or not?
No.
It's not correct.
No.
Okay. Educate me, please.
Yes. No. The $3.8 billion is there for multiple reasons. Sales taxes, the income from sales tax has increased everywhere, because people are buying, even though there's, this inflation, but, people are buying, people are building, people are making big purchases. That all goes into that pool. And it continues to drive up surpluses with the budget. And, when you look at the Democrat budget, by law, it has to be balanced. So that's the way the law is in most states, that you have to offer a balanced budget, either which way that you go. And so the Republicans balanced their budget one way. Governor Evers balanced his budget another way. And then through, once they're submitted, then the governor has the ability through the veto pen to make some subtle changes in grammar, etc., to change the budget.
Okay.
But a lot of this money is money that was received federally from COVID, and that helped grow this here surplus.
Man, I'm gonna have to
So
look into all
there's
this again. And that's what I wish I had more time to understand all this stuff. And it
yeah.
seems like whomever I talk to is a different answer. So
Oh yeah.
it just drives me
Well,
crazy.
because well, that's government. You have your own perspective on how
Yeah, but there
that
shouldn't be. Just be
is.
facts. Like, I don't understand that. Just be facts. This is what it was. This is what it is. Doesn't care about Republican, Democrat. Just this is the fact. I do want to
Well,
circle back to one thing. I asked you about the abortion, and
mhm.
you're back into total political mode because you didn't answer the question. It was, let's just work together. Okay, that's not really working out very well. So are there exceptions for the abortion? And I know we've spent so much time on this, but I do think it's important to talk about it. And I'm
Well,
not
it is
trying to
the
get you to say
mother.
something that you don't want to say. I'm
Yep.
just wondering. So for you, if is it just whatever my constituents, like the majority, want? I mean, is it, well, I'll give the Republicans, like, I'll concede on this and this, and we can find a compromise, but we're not giving up this. Like, what would you want if
What
you
would
were
I
elected
want
and it was like
if
your choice, 100% of the vote, and it's only Patty's vote? What would that look like?
so I think that I think the decisions made in a doctor's office between a woman and her doctor are theirs to be made. I, I think because I come from a medical background, I have a much different perspective on abortion
Mm.
and why women make the decisions that they make. And a lot of times people will say, that women just have abortions out of convenience and all that, and they do not. They,
Mm.
you, most women who get an early abortion, it is usually because of a miscarriage, a failed pregnancy.
Mm.
And, you have
Wait,
to
a
have a
miscarriage
DNC.
counts as an abort? No, it doesn't.
A miscarriage is a spontaneous abortion. The diagnosis of a miscarriage is a spontaneous abortion.
Women are mysteries to
That
me.
is that's the code.
Huh.
So, so that a spontaneous abortion then goes into the data
As an abortion.
of abortion, but it's a miscarriage. So if you miscarry at home and go to the doctor because you've been bleeding for 10 days and they say, well, you had a miscarriage, you now have to have a DNC, that is a spontaneous abortion.
What's a DNC?
A DNC is when you go and evacuate the uterus of fetal
Okay,
tissue.
it's all right.
So it's complicated. It's not a simple solution.
No, and that's why I don't
It's
understand. I mean, this is why I like you. I don't push my. I mean, I'm a man of faith. I have my beliefs, but that's for
mhm.
myself, my family. I don't push that on anybody else, man. And sometimes just because what I think, like, I have an opinion or a feeling on, I don't know, pick any topic, like social
Yep.
issues and gay marriage. Hey, just because I have my certain beliefs doesn't mean I don't think that they should all have equal rights and etc. And certain laws don't necessarily have to align with my personal beliefs. So I
Right.
don't want to push on anybody. I certainly don't. But these are tough ones. Man, these are
Oh,
really tough because there doesn't really seem to be the right answer. People either 100% for or 100% against. I get it, but that's usually there's something in the middle, and no matter what, somebody's going to lose out on this. You were talking earlier about the it's great to have these bills that we can do that everybody wins. And those are the bills that you should write. Well,
yeah.
unfortunately, those I think are most of the time they're just obvious ones. But then there's some bigger
hmm
ones like this that it's, man, no matter what you do, someone's going to get
Yeah.
hurt by it. Someone's going to be not just upset about it or whatever, because that'll always happen, but it will hurt some people in some way, shape, or form. And how do you make a decision on that? How do you vote for something when you
Yeah.
know some other people might get hurt? I don't know why you guys do what you do.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the woman's life at risk is very subjective. What does
Yeah,
at risk
sounds like
mean?
it.
It's a very subjective place to be. But we don't even have uh, the if rape and incest. You know,
Yeah, that one
and
kind of seems like
whether
a.
that's it's and it's like, huh. And there are some states that are actually, making it so that the woman has to have the baby and the rapist family has opportunities to have relationships with that child. Talk about the mental health of the woman and what are the outcomes of that. So, I mean, there are a lot of conversations that we have to have about, reproductive health. And, this may have the right to reproductive freedom is probably over right now, but this conversation has just begun.
Yeah. Well,
It
on
has
that,
just begun.
let's move on because we pretty much spend most of the show, and obviously, like when we do these, we don't know what we're going to talk about. But it just seemed
Yeah.
like I appreciate you being willing to come on and talk about this stuff. But the school loan forgiveness thing that happened yesterday, thoughts on that?
So again, I talk to a lot of young people that have, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in school debt, and I've talked to people that have paid their student loans off. And it seems to be that student loans it was a predatory practice on, you can't go in and refinance your student loans at a lower interest rate. There's a predatory thing that has been established into the student loan business, and that's part of the problem. There's people who have taken out student loans who are still paying because of the interest rate that they had. So it's not, yes, up to 20,000 depending on what the situation is. Kind of what I think I heard.
Yeah, 10,000 in simplest terms. Under $125,000 individual income, $10,000, but up to $20,000 if you had utilized the Pell Grants.
Right. So I know, like, even for my kids, Travis does not have any student loans because he was in the military and he used his GI Bill to help get him from an associate's degree to now working on a doctorate. My two daughters both have their master's degree and both have student loans and are, and both work in public service. So there's programs for that. But there are lots of student loans where folks get their loans and they're, tens of thousands and some even hundreds of thousands of dollars for their educational journey and the quest to have a better life. If we give tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires, and we can have an opportunity to help kids pay off their student loans so they can come back to our communities and take that knowledge that they earned from college back into the community, it is an economic driver. If we don't help kids with their student loans, they're going to stay where the money is. And right now, that educational wealth box is not in rural communities. Kids are leaving and they're not coming back until they retire. Young people are coming back when they retire or close to retirement, when they don't have to count on the income, and especially the income disparity that they're going to have in rural communities. So I think it's helpful. I think there are a lot of people that are going to be ticked off about it, and they are. But we, as a country, like I said, we did the PPP grants. People didn't complain about that. We did tax breaks. People didn't complain about that.
I did, and we were doing our politically speaking shows. I kept getting this money. And I'm like, I didn't sign up for it. And Drew's like, we don't actually need this. I mean, thank you, but we don't. I mean, we're okay. We're not doing super great, but God's blessed us. We're doing just fine. And a lot of that is because we don't overspend what we make. We put money away, and sure, it'd be nice to have a new sofa and a big TV and all, but we don't really need it. So we didn't need any of that stuff. And when I look at this, same thing. This helps us because we have school loans. So this will probably reduce our school loan like a third in total debt. It's not really going to change our monthly payments. Basically, it just means that we'll have our school loans paid off in 12 to 15 years instead of like 25 years. So it doesn't really help us that much. And I can totally relate to a lot of people who are going, A, I've already paid it off, or B, why am I paying on your financial debt? I get some of that stuff. The only one thing, and I'm not advocating for this or against it, again, if it helps me personally, I'm always for it. But I don't necessarily love it. And actually, here's the reason why is that $10,000, boy, if we could have, there's so many kids that don't have an opportunity to go to college. Now we're talking about the impoverished. Now we're talking about the families that are making less than $30,000. So the ones that families could afford it, they're getting $10,000 basically, we're going to wipe away 10 grand of debt. But what about those kids in those families that they couldn't allow their kid to go to college because we're too poor? And they're going, well, if you would have given me like a $10,000 help, but when I start, like I would have liked to seen that a little bit more than the people who, again, we can make our payments. That's fine. Most people can make their monthly payments. They really can. But let's help out the ones that couldn't even afford going to college, not the ones that could afford to go to college. And a lot of these people, leave with a degree and get a pretty well-paying job, or certainly a good-paying job if they go to their career field. So they're going to pay it off eventually. How about we help out the kids and the families that couldn't? That's my only pushback on it.
Yeah, and I don't disagree. I don't disagree. And I think, for the longest time when we talked about college, and the tuition increases and how expensive college is and everything goes with it, our university system, when it comes to research and development, that's all part of the college experience. And we, as the taxpayers, are paying for that. And so these students that come out with the degree, I'm glad that my kids all have a secondary education. It has given them a step in the right direction for personal prosperity. I don't know where this all is going to sit as far as their student loans.
Sure.
I don't know. I don't ask my kids how much they have. I know they have them.
Yeah.
I don't.
But let's
know
face
how
it, if you and I were still doing Politically Speaking with Adam right now, and you guys weren't running for something, we would all call this for what it is. It's an election cycle. It's a midterm. Biden needs another win. Inflation's starting to kind of go down. Now they're saying, hey, it's a victory. It's $1. Gas is cheaper than it was before. Yeah, but it's still more expensive than before. But that's okay. Like, it's heading in that direction. So that's going to be good for Democrats. And this is going to work out super well for Democrats, for the Gen Zers and the millennials. Total win right there. This is a political thing, and we all know it. Now, he said that he wanted to get this done before he even, when he was running. This is what I'm going to do. So, hey, got to give the guy props for that. He got it done. And he gets it done, a couple months before the election. We know what that is. That doesn't mean it's wrong that he did it.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's right that he did it. But we understand,
that's politics.
That's a part of it
That's
right
politics.
now. That's just politics. That's just how it goes.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. And it's, it is part of the political game and
and you're getting back into it. Why are you getting back into it?
Well, like I said, I want to, actually see our representatives work for all of us, and not just the people that vote for us. And I think, that should be an expectation of everybody. And, we need to have those type of legislators.
All right. So I just got a text. I don't know. I haven't been looking at this. Maybe somebody put that in. I just got a text from someone to ask you if you know what districts are in your district, or what counties. I'm sorry. Read the article. Osceola Sun last week. I don't know. Apparently, they sent a screenshot of this article. I see. Polk County. This is what. Oh, yeah, that's right. Evers. Holy cow! I forgot to talk about that. Evers was at your house.
Yes.
Recently, I think this was the headline. It looks like Governor Evers' friends campaign in Somerset as the race to November starts. And yeah, Schachtner also believes her message can hit home with Polk and Burnett County residents. Quote, I don't live in a lake house. I've lived. What does that have to do with anything, Pat? Does your opponent live in a lake house or something?
Yes.
I'm more like the people of Polk and Burnett. I think what they were asking is, because I don't believe Polk or Burnett is even in your district anymore.
No,
I think that's what they were asking.
We had a lot of Burnett County folks that came down to the event, and because we're inclusive,
Yes, of course you are. Yeah.
And that we had people from Polk County, Burnett County, Dunn County, Pierce County, and St. Croix County that were there. So, it would be remiss not to acknowledge their presence in our area. District 28 has been remapped,
realigned, and actually, you're probably there's only like 2 districts that I saw in Wisconsin, at least in northern Wisconsin. Actually, probably only one, and that was a 28th in terms of everyone's saying that these are we're gerrymandered for Republicans. You're probably the only district that it was kind of beneficial. No, that's not an official stance on something, but losing Burnett County, I think, isn't going to help a Republican in the 28th Assembly District. That's my opinion. What do you think?
I think that the gerrymandering piece to it, I don't know how it's going to end up election-wise. I think I'm underwater, when it comes to Republican versus Democrat. It's an uphill battle for me. But I think what is unfortunate in the gerrymandering thing, I'm from Somerset, born and raised on the south side, live on the north side, Somerset School District, boundaries. The thing that's interesting to me right now with the way this new map is the village of Somerset is in the 28th, but the town of Somerset, I believe, is in the 30th, and part of is in the 29th. So a small community like Somerset, it's tiny, has been depending on where you live, you have a different representative.
How bizarre.
And it's really bizarre and it's weird. And we just have to live by the maps, but it is
well,
kind
counties
of
are the same way too, right? Kind of like Turtle Lake. If there's a story and I got to put it under which county, it's technically Barron County,
right?
But it was the Polk County law enforcement that was doing in Birchwood here in Washburn. Same thing. It's like right on the corner of Barron, Sawyer, and Washburn. I'm like, well, technically it's Washburn, but you throw a rock and you're in Barron, and another rock you're in Sawyer. Whatever. So we have one question on here. Then I think we're at past our time. Does paying off loans drive up wages for people in rural areas? I'm pretty sure I heard you say that. I don't know if you said that earlier, or I'm assuming that's for you because I didn't say that. Or maybe that was, you had said that previously somewhere.
I think that, the $10,000 or up to $20,000, however the Pell Grant and that, I'm not an expert in that. I don't count on my word on that there. But let's go with the 10,000.
Yeah.
If you have a huge student loan, and that $10,000 is a difference between you buying a house, that does change the makeup.
Well, again,
of your
my wife and I both have student loans, so if that's $10,000 off each, and I don't remember which one has more. I think total we had like 50-some thousand. So we'll just say 50. It's either 50 or 60. I think I said that earlier that my payments. Maybe that'll go down a little, but you can make pretty low payments on these things. It's like a medical bill. As long as you're paying, it's kind of okay. And I'm sure it's not the right way to do it because of interest, etc. But it really isn't making a difference. I keep everything on spreadsheets, like everything. My life is on spreadsheets. And it was in June, and I look back to what our cost of living was, because I always take receipts and put in how much was groceries. It's just a freaky, total nerd alert. Yeah. And I look back, I think it was in June compared to the June before, and I'm like, holy cow, thankfully our rent didn't go up like a lot of people's did, but we're spending $650 more a month just in, gas and food and basic household items, like our bills, our electricity, our heat. I'm like, holy cow. So I don't think this really, I just don't. I don't think this is actually going to be a difference maker for people's average day. But I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm just saying I don't think it's going to make that much of an impact right now.
I feel like for people that have these loans, it probably does make there are some people that it makes a big difference. For others, it probably doesn't, and that, for people whose college was paid for, they feel like they've been slighted. For, people
who are signing up for college today probably feel a little like, dang it.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things, but it's one of those things in the moment that this is a decision that was made, and the voters want it. Gen Z and the millennials. Hey. You just had your first Gen Zer that's going to be in the Congress down in Florida.
That's right. And a lot of young people are Democrats. I mean, if you look at the age, or the demographics, I think most people know that. Typically younger are going to be more Democrat than Republican, typically, again, as a whole, not like just in your community. That's just how it works. So it's an election cycle, et cetera. Patty, I love talking to you. We could talk for like 4 hours.
I know. People would be so bored.
But we wouldn't, and that's all that matters. No. So suck it.
We're our own best fans.
So where can Where can people go to find out more information about you? I saw on your Facebook page, which is always entertaining to watch. I love seeing uteruses with middle fingers and all. I'm like, Patty, what are you, Patty? Calling people little girls. I'm like, oh, Patty. That's fantastic. But I saw on your page that you, I think you now have a website for your campaign. What is that?
Patty for Wisconsin, WI. So PATTY for FORWI.com.
Whoa, slow down. What was that? Patty
for Wisconsin.
And was it did you say
WI?
FOR?
Yes.
Okay, not the 4. Okay. All right, cool. What do you have coming up this weekend?
Well, when I get off here, I have to go to work, and I've got some stuff I gotta get done at work, and then we're, of course, I love my job, but we're on the final stages of our build out to have the first CAT scan digital autopsy suite here in the state of Wisconsin.
Really?
The first one. It's super interesting, super cool. And I'm partnering with John Denny's in Polk County. So this is going to be a really exciting time for us in that realm. And we were able to do it in a very cost-effective way that's going to really give answers to families right away. To rule out trauma. So we're very excited about that. Installation is going to be September 26th. So I got to go check and see how the building project is going. And then tomorrow, Joe and I are with 18 of our motorcycle friends are heading down to the Driftless and staying in Soldiers Grove and going to be riding down in that area. And we're super pumped about it.
So I don't know where that is. You said Driftless and something else. That Wisconsin somewhere?
Yeah, it's we're Soldiers Grove, so it's so beautiful. If you ever have a chance to take a day trip, go down to the Driftless area.
Just take a picture of it and send it to me, and it's the same experience for me.
Oh,
but
it's great. It's great riding, and the apple orchards down there. It's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres of apples, and it's so beautiful. And it's a great ride. So I'm really looking forward to it.
All right. Do you pick the apples? I mean, what's the allure? It's just to look at them? You can look at them on pictures online, and he's like, oh, there's a picture of apples.
You're on your motorcycle. I
don't have a motorcycle. No, thank you. My rule is that if anything that I drive, if there's and I hit a deer, if the deer has a better chance of walking away than I do, I don't own it. So no, thank you. All right, Patty, thanks so much. Love having you on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Special thank you to our guest today, Democrat nominee for Wisconsin's 28th Assembly District, Patty Schachtner, for joining us for a chat. Reminder, 1 week from today, September 1st, we'll be chatting with Democrat candidate for Wisconsin's 30th Assembly District, Sarah Yakub. But before that, I will see you right back here tomorrow morning when we welcome on, first time on our show, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden saying thank you for watching, and as always, have a blessed day.